This is what Christophe Galtier recently had to answer in his recent interview on the Qatar Tour. Spending 3 days together has given us some squad unity again. We had a solid game despite finishing it with 10 men, but we need a lot of training sessions to get our level and our form back. We've got everyone back fit, so we can no longer hide behind certain players being absent. There are things for us to put right. The game against Riyadh was a good, high-standard one against world-class players. It was a very good practice session. And what he's talking about here is that the trip to Qatar and to Saudi, with the players being together because before, after the World Cup, and even the players that didn't go to World Cup, yes, they had vacations, yeah, they had time for themselves, but not together, not as a unit. They need to build the chemistry they had in the beginning of the season, and the World Cup has made them even more group orientated. The Brazilians there, him going there, Neymar by himself, him there. And this trip to Qatar and to Saudi has made everyone unite again, which is a really good thing that he's talking about. And he thought that the exhibition match against Riyadh, it was more than just a training game. It was a game where the players could play without pressure and yeah, just play their football as they always should be doing. On the opponents, playing against amateur clubs is what the Coupe De France is all about. Every year there are huge upsets, so we need to be focused. We'll be playing in a full stadium that didn't bring us much luck last time out. We'll go there with the best possible team, and we want to go through and raise our game. So, in the beginning when I saw this from Galtier, I was like, is he really gonna play Eminem against them? Let the youngsters play, but I get what he means. He knows that the buying game is coming up. He knows that Paris Saint-Germain need their rhythm to play at their best in that game. We have 4 Ligue 1 games after this Coupe de France game, and he wants it to be 5 games in a row where we raise our level, get that rhythm, get the momentum, everything needed for that buying clutch, which is really important. And he also talked about the opponents. That's what the cup is for. That's why they call it the magic of the FA Cup, for example, or magic of the Coupe de France, is that you can literally play any team. You can play a Ligue 1 team, you can play a 5th division side, and that's just a beautiful thing from the Cup. On the Coupe de France, there will be a lot of supporting Paris du Castel, but that's the Coupe de France. This is a historic occasion for them. They will be at Boulevard, and it will be important for them to have that support. We're preparing for this big game as we would for any other. And here Galtier just respects the opponent. Instead of looking, oh, they're a 6th-tier side, oh, this and that. No, he's looking at them as a respectful opponent, as 11 players, plus the manager, plus the bench, plus the fans that he's mentioning. They're going to be for them winning against Paris Saint-Germain. So this is still an obstacle. This is still an opponent that Paris Saint-Germain should do everything to beat. And he's showcasing that we're going to a stadium where we recently lost, and we need to get back. We need to make a comeback, a revenge at that stadium. On Nuno Mendes, we know how important he is. He's been out of action for a long time with a World Cup related injury, and we've been careful with him as it was a serious muscle injury. Juan Bernal was the only player other than that could play that position. We've had to be careful with him too. There are 2 different players, and in the style that we play, we're aiming to have. We're looking for verticality. Nuno in particular is a player of that style. What Galtier is pretty much doing here, he's slandering Bernal. He's slandering Bernal in the most respectful way and sense, saying that what Nuno offers is nowhere close to what Bernal tries to offer. And he also discussed about verticality. We saw against Stade de Rennes, we lacked verticality, we lacked pace, we lacked explosiveness with him, Kylian Mbappe, and Achraf Hakimi not starting that game. And especially by Nuno, the explosivity he has, he can just change an attack in 1 second with that pace. And yeah, he's saying that Juan Bernal doesn't offer that. It's pretty much that simple. But we really need him back. Galtier knows how important he is, and we as Paris Saint-Germain fans know how important Nuno is. On the team style of play, in recent games we haven't been able to press our opponents high up the pitch, which is something that we want to do, and we're working on precisely that with the players. Next week after the Coupe de France, we'll have a lot of sessions centered around winning the ball. We need to be better both when we win the ball and when we lose it, as well as being better when our opponents move the ball up the pitch. This is a really good point from Galtier here. This is one of the big stuff I remember I saw from the preseason and Paris Saint-Germain early on in the season. It was the press. Because when you are as a unit, you work as a unit both offensively and defensively. And yeah, we have 100% lacked that, especially now after the World Cup. Especially against Angers, I thought the press was disgusting. Marquinhos was even pushing up sometimes, and we had 7 players trying to get the ball, and we couldn't get it. And Galtier has seen that this is a weakness. This is something that we definitely need to improve on. And as he said, we will work on that in the Coupe de France game. But with it being a 6th-tier side, we can't really do that much. We will be doing it in training. Everything is about preparing for that Bayern München game. And of course, be better off in the rest of the season. On the transfer window. Before it opened, I've said that there would be only players be coming in if there were players leaving. We'll all been having discussions with each other at the club to see whether we can get an extra attacking player since Pablo Sarabia left. As for any others, we don't know yet. We're extremely focused on what we need to put right, and both the sporting director and the president are working on transfers. Galtier here wants to be respectful to every club and all the players. We all know how heavily linked we are with players like Milan Skriniar or even Marcus Thuram. But Galtier does not want to say any names because he wants to be respectful to their respective clubs. But he's definitely saying that maybe some players, maybe 1, maybe 2 players will arrive at Paris Saint-Germain. It all depends on if Campos and Nasser Al-Khalifi can fix a deal through for some certain players. He also brought up that he said before that no player would join if no player leaves. But he openly brought up that Sarabia has left, which means that there is a void to be filled. And he also mentioned that we want an attacker that has pace, can shoot with his left, his right, and can head the ball into the net, which is probably Marcus Thuram. And lastly, on Presnel Kimpembe. We're hoping to get him back in 8 to 10 days. He's working well and working hard. We know how good he is, how hard he works, and how influential he is on the pitch. We'll wait for him to make his return to the pitch and then see how his form is. But we're hoping to get him back soon. Galtier talks about Kimpembe. Of course, Kimpembe, he is a good player and adds something that maybe Paris Saint-Germain lack. Even though Danilo has done a really good job in his position, of course, Kimpembe has some attributes and some strengths that Paris Saint-Germain lack. Maybe that physicality, maybe that aggression. Yeah, he knows that Kimpembe, of course, as any other Paris Saint-Germain player, is an important player. Kimpembe is a player that has been here for a long time, knows the club, he's French, knows the academy players, and Galtier knows the importance of Kimpembe and, of course, wants him back. That was it from everything that Galtier recently said in his interview. Let me know in the comments down below anything you found interesting, anything you agree, anything you disagree with in his recent interview. And apart from that, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the PSGINT YouTube channel, and as always, allez Paris!